The One Piece Egghead Arc, also known as the Future Island Arc, has recently concluded. It marks an exciting beginning to the final saga of this legendary series. Although this is the 32nd arc in Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates' journey, it hasn't lost any of its charm. On the contrary, Egghead left many deep impressions. With spectacular battles, touching stories, and countless secrets from the past being revealed, it creates the perfect foundation for One Piece's final stage. So today, I'd like to invite you to review all the main events of the Egghead arc through this video. Warning, there will be spoiler details in the video, so please consider carefully before watching. But if you've read the manga, or don't mind spoilers, let's dive into the video right away. After an intense battle on Onigashima and defeating two former emperors, Kaido and Big Mom, along with the entire Beast Pirates crew, the alliance between the three supernovas, Luffy, Law, and Kid, decided to go their separate ways. Whether by coincidence or intention, all three crews chose to depart on the same day, so they had to draw lots to choose their respective routes. With his quick thinking, Law drew the straightest and easiest route, leading the Heart Pirates towards the southeast of Wano country. Although that was the theory, moving away from the protagonist's light meant storms were coming. The calm didn't last long. As soon as they left Wano's waters, the Heart Pirates were suddenly ambushed by Emperor Blackbeard and his crew. Blackbeard had been waiting there to ambush any pirate crew leaving Wano. Despite having the advantage of traveling underwater by submarine, with the power granted by the Tremor fruit, Blackbeard continuously launched powerful tremor attacks directly at the Heart Pirates' vessel, putting the entire crew in dire straits. Giving Law no time to rest, Doc Q, with his powers from the Sick fruit, dealt another deadly blow by transforming Law's entire crew into women, reducing their mobility. Meanwhile, Jesus Burgess lifted a mountain hundreds of times larger than his body and threw it at Law to completely destroy the polar tang. However, thanks to his absolute flexibility within room, Law easily teleported the entire ship, saving his crew from becoming shark food. Seizing the moment when the enemy lost focus, Law immediately unleashed his awakened ability of the Op no Mi, using R-Room to slice through Stronger, the battle horse, and deflect Blackbeard's direct aerial attack, piercing through his bulky body with a shock will in K-Room, the attack that had nearly defeated Big Mom in the battle at Wano. A giant sword appeared, piercing straight through Blackbeard's body, causing tons of damage by directly affecting his internal organs, severely wounding him to the point of coughing blood and being thrown dozens of meters out to sea. Only with Van Augur's rescue could he return to the battle. The Heart Pirates immediately seized the opportunity, showing they weren't burdens to their captain, continuously combining water attacks with their agile movements to both counterattack and defend against the terrifying power of the Blackbeard pirates. However, Blackbeard, being an emperor, was no pushover. He unleashed the power he once used to defeat Ace and Whitebeard. With the Dark Fruit's ability, Blackbeard nullified Law's Devil Fruit powers. This turned all of Law's advantages into absolutely nothing. The tide of battle immediately shifted completely. The advantage tilted heavily towards Blackbeard, as with his overwhelming powers of tremor and darkness, he defeated the entire Heart Pirates crew and completely destroyed their beloved polar tang. Just when everything seemed to be over, suddenly a giant white-furred bear monster dozens of meters tall appeared out of nowhere, charging straight at the Blackbeard pirates and attacking relentlessly. It turned out to be Beppo's Sulong form, made possible by a candy chopper had given him that allowed transformation at will in case of emergencies like this. With his terrifying speed and the element of surprise, Beppo immediately rescued Law from death's grasp and darted away, disappearing into the sea, saving Law from certain defeat. Moving on to another member of the three Supernova Alliance, Captain Kidd. While he was on his way to Elbaf to meet the man with burn scars and simultaneously settle his grudge with red-haired Shanks's crew, who was currently there. Noticing Kidd's overwhelming confidence, Killer laughed and said, "Hey, last time we were completely defeated even before meeting Shanks, so can we win this time?" Kidd simply replied, "Nah, I'd win." The battle between the two strongest red-haired pirates was about to unfold violently in the waters outside Elbaf. With his awakened ability, Kidd created a giant electromagnetic cannon floating in the air, aimed directly at Shanks' entire allied fleet, while also turning his position into a magnetic pole to attract all surrounding ships, intending to end everything in a single strike. With advanced observation haki, Shanks foresaw the bloody future. Immediately, he unleashed Kumari, combining his Conqueror's haki and Armament haki, concentrating them into his sword griffin and creating such powerful pressure that the surrounding space trembled. An incredibly powerful slash appeared and flew in an instant, completely defeating both Kid and Killer when he tried to block the attack for his captain. Recognizing the huge gap in power between both sides, Kid's remaining crew members had to surrender unconditionally and hand over all their copies of the poneglyph rubbings they possessed. However, Shanks wasn't the only danger they had to face. Right above the shores of Elbaf, two legendary captains of the giant pirates unleashed an extremely powerful Hakoku attack. This attack was so powerful it completely destroyed the Vegapunk, wiping out the entire crew of the 3 billion berry bounty holder, Eustace Captain Kidd, on the shores of Elbaf in the New World. While both his allies encountered formidable enemies, Luffy on his chosen path was heading to Egghead, the island where the genius Dr. Vegapunk resided. There, they discovered a massive body of water appearing like a whirlpool in Egghead's sky. And right in the center of that water mass was Bonnie, trapped and floating in the air. In an attempt to save Bonnie, Luffy and Chopper forgot they were devil fruit users, rescued her only to get caught in the storm and fall into the sea, forcing Jinbe to risk diving down to save all three. Meanwhile, the others were attacked and sunk by a giant mechanical shark. Its name was Mecha Shark, a product combining sea beasts and robotics created by Dr. Vegapunk. It continuously pushed the Straw Hat crew into difficult situations, nearly completely swallowing the Thousand Sunny when a giant robot appeared to stop it. This was Vegaforce 01, controlled by one of Dr. Vegapunk's duplicates, Lilith. It turned out that to improve research efficiency, after returning from Elbaf with information about the Void Century collected there, Vegapunk had created 6 copies based on 6 aspects of his personality. They all included Shaka, good, Lilith, evil, Edison, thinking, Pythagoras, wisdom, Atlas, violence, and York, greed. These 6 copies were all connected and could share all their knowledge, experiences, and expertise through a device called Punk Record. This was actually Dr. Vegapunk's enormous brain after he ate the Nomi 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 and continuously learned new things for decades. With the versatility of all 6 entities, Dr. Vegapunk successfully developed a perpetual energy source that could power everything, called the Mother Flame. Thanks to this energy source, devices like Megaforce 01, Shark Seraphim, the island's air conditioning system, and many other things could be completed in a short time. However, everything has 2 sides. Although having 6 copies made Vegapunk's work extremely fast and efficient, materializing the greedy and lustful aspect of himself into York created countless problems. York began harboring ambitions to eliminate the other entities to become the only Vegapunk in this world, using that as a stepping stone to become a celestial dragon, with the desire to get without giving. 3 months before the Straw Hat crew arrived at Egghead, York had secretly contacted the 5 elders and revealed that Vegapunk was conducting research on the Void Century, seeking their help to eliminate him. Simultaneously, York captured all CP agents investigating the place to frame Vegapunk for trying to hide something from the government. York also sent a portion of the Fire Mother to the 5 elders to add credibility to the story. This action was also the reason behind the complete destruction of Lulusia Island by Uranus. She was so sophisticated that she created fake memories to fabricate evidence and synchronize them with data on the Punk Record. However, with their abilities, Stella, Pythagoras, and Shaka noticed abnormal data patterns in the energies created from the Fire Mother. They immediately investigated and discovered that someone had been behind the scenes subtly altering figures to deceive him, and it had to be another Vegapunk since this required deep access to the Punk Record. After a period of investigation, they identified York as the true culprit behind everything. However, by then it was too late to expose everything. The world government would certainly hunt them down even if they eliminated York and ran anywhere. Therefore, instead of running away, they would prepare a meticulous plan to broadcast the message about the world's truth and the Void Century to everyone in the world. After completing everything, all 3 went together into the memory erasure room to erase their memories of the past 2 weeks. This place seemed perfect for York to conveniently spread information to everyone. However, when the Straw Hat crew arrived at Egghead, everything changed. They could completely rely on an Emperor crew to escape from the world government. Therefore, after successfully freeing the Straw Hat crew, Shaka requested Lilith to take the group to the research level in the sky. Nevertheless, this was still an island under marine jurisdiction. Zoro and Brook decided to stay behind to protect the Sunny, while also releasing Caribou as per his request to be freed on any island. Just as Zoro predicted, on their way to meet Shaka, the group was tricked into confronting Seraphim S. Shark, which took the child form of Jinbei. With incredible speed and the ability to swim on land from the Sui Sui no Mi, S. Shark quickly approached and directly attacked the entire Straw Hat crew. However, the Vegapunks had underestimated the capabilities of an Emperor crew. With his power, Sanji immediately launched an extremely powerful kick straight at S. Shark, forcing it to retreat. Both sides remained deadlocked, exchanging techniques continuously until Shaka himself appeared and stopped the fight. It turned out all they wanted was to improve the Seraphim's combat capabilities through battles against real powerful opponents in the world, and from there, develop new features for them. Back to Luffy's stranded group, all three had been saved by Jinbe from certain defeat. After trying to fish everyone out of the danger zone, they sat down to talk and realized Bonnie came to this island to find out why Vegapunk had stripped Kuma of her humanity and turned her father into a living weapon. They sneaked through the underground sewers and entered Egghead Island. Here, they met Atlas, another Vegapunk entity who gave them a basic introduction to the place. However, with their destructive capabilities, they were immediately hindered and had to flee to a scrapyard. At the scrapyard, Luffy's group discovered a giant immobile robot in a corner. This was Emmet, a friend of Joy Boy from the Void Century, and trapped inside it was Dr. Vegapunk aka Stella, also known as the Master Star. With her inherently rough nature, Bonnie immediately used the light sword she had just obtained from the scrapyard to attack Vegapunk. However, that very sword turned out to be a failed experiment as the light it emitted attracted too many insects and caused Bonnie to faint. After saving Stella from a memorable death and avoiding Bonnie's troubles, Vegapunk explained to Luffy and everyone about everything happening on Egghead, about the Seraphims, about the energy source from the Fire Mother, about his copies, and much more. Finally, he asked the entire Straw Hat crew to help him and his copies leave Egghead to avoid assassination attempts by the world government. While everyone was relaxing and talking, just as Vegapunk feared, in Egghead's maritime territory, thanks to S-Bear's power, CP0 had directly accessed the mainland. However, their advance was facing many problems as they couldn't get past the Frontier system. The Frontier was Vegapunk's absolute defense system, attacking any enemy who dared to cross with deadly laser beams, even dangerous enough to stop a powerful agent like Kaku. While CP0 was wondering how to approach and defeat Vegapunk, Atlas suddenly rushed forward to attack Lucci with an ultra-mighty punch. She was immediately restrained by his tail. Without hesitation, he raised his hands in position and defeated Atlas with just one 6 powers gun. Just when it seemed this would be a powerful comeback, the Black Leopard immediately transformed into his awakened form to continue fighting other opponents. Lucci's body became taller and more muscular, his claws became sharper, and notably, his body was surrounded by a black flame scarf around his neck and shoulders, similar to Yamato's awakened state. However, unfortunately for him, the one he had to face was Luffy in his awakened Gear 5 state. Luffy decided to give Lucci a thorough beating, because Atlas was the one who had fed him when he first arrived here. This was also the first time the entire Straw Hat crew witnessed their captain in this form. As for Vegapunk, he seemed to have known about this form of Luffy beforehand, and called it Nika while explaining to everyone. Meanwhile, Vegapunk's bodyguard had also joined the battle. Sentomaru immediately ordered the Seraphims to attack and completely cut off CP0's retreat route. With the authorization system extending from the authority chip bearer Sentomaru to Vegapunk, and finally to the 5 elders, CP0 agents needed to deal with both Sentomaru and Vegapunk to regain control of the Seraphims. In a moment of carelessness, Sentomaru was severely wounded by Lucci with just one finger gun. With his abundant stamina and powerful haki, Lucci had successfully punctured several holes in Sentomaru's body, making it difficult for him to continue fighting. However, Lucci seemed to have forgotten who his real opponent was. Luffy in Gear 5 state immediately attacked him to save Sentomaru. He utilized his awakened state's ability to turn surrounding pipes into rubber to create a launch point and propel himself towards Lucci, finishing him with a booming white rocket that penetrated through the leopard's sturdy body. After defeating the most dangerous threat, Luffy immediately headed to the cloud level with his friends, guided by S-Snake using the launch pad. They quickly arrived at the cloud level and reunited with everyone from the ground. Though defeated by Luffy, Lucci still had enough strength to take down Sentomaru and gain control of the Seraphims. He immediately contacted Marine Admiral Kizaru to request reinforcements to surround the island. Back at the research level, Vegapunk, along with all his satellites and the Straw Hat crew, had gathered. While they were planning their escape, suddenly the Frontier Protection System was unexpectedly neutralized, creating an opportunity for CP0 agents to infiltrate the research level. When CP0 spotted the Sunny, they planned to destroy it to eliminate all escape routes for the Straw Hat crew. Kaku jumped into the air to gain momentum and launched a powerful kick technique with intense shockwaves straight at the Sunny, but was stopped by Zoro. While everything was extremely tense, Vegapunk suddenly disappeared. He was being attacked by Bonnie, who wanted to learn everything about Kuma. In a moment of absent-mindedness, the world's smartest man fell for Bonnie's trick and was turned into a child and subdued. However, even in this dangerous situation, he firmly kept Kuma's secrets. In her frustration, Bonnie suddenly discovered the room containing Kuma's memory backup copies. With her curiosity, she ignored all of Vegapunk's warnings and spent a night in Kuma's memories to understand why her father accepted being brainwashed and leaving her. Here, we learn about Kuma's extremely painful past. Going back about 47 years ago in Sorbet, a child with buccaneer blood was born. Kuma was much larger than a normal person and possessed the super strong physique of the giant race with powerful defensive abilities. Notably, like the giants of Elbaf, they worshipped the sun god Nika, believing he would bring freedom and happiness to everyone. But perhaps for this reason, they were intensely hunted by the world government in the past, to the point where, if discovered, buccaneer tribe members would be enslaved to serve the celestial dragons until death. For this reason, when Kuma was born, his mother had to ask the delivering doctor to keep her child's bloodline a secret. Sadly, government eyes were everywhere in the hospital, so they were quickly captured by the world government shortly after and became slaves of the celestial dragons. Kuma's mother was originally just an ordinary person, so she passed away after enduring exploitation and torture. Father and son Kuma could only rely on and encourage each other to live. His father would often meet and talk with his son after each hard day's work. He told Kuma about the god Nika worshipped in buccaneer tribe stories, taught Kuma his dance, and danced with Kuma to relieve stress and look forward to a brighter future. However, at that moment, he was shot dead by a celestial dragon for making noise that disturbed them. Kuma became an orphan, losing both parents when he was just 4 years old. 5 years later, when Kuma was 9, he was taken to God Valley to be prey in a world government hunting competition. Every 3 years, they would choose a kingdom not affiliated with the world government as the hunting ground, with the prey being slaves deemed weak and all citizens and royalty in that kingdom. In that fateful hunting trip, over 10,000 God Valley citizens were forced to be rabbits for the celestial dragon's sick entertainment. The rules of this game were very simple. Each rabbit was worth points based on their rarity. A killing shot would earn bonus points, while attacking targets before the start signal would result in a 10,000-point deduction. After 3 weeks of hunting, whoever had the most points would be the winner, with the prize being legendary devil fruits kept in chests. At the starting line, even before the competition began, Kuma quickly escaped from containment. However, he was caught by other slaves who feared punishment if they let him escape. They wanted to keep themselves as safe as possible to survive the 3 weeks and be freed as promised by the celestial dragons, despite the competition rules never recording any case of a rabbit being freed. While being escorted back to containment, Kuma met his destiny in the form of siblings Ivankov and Ginny. With her eavesdropping talent, Ginny had gathered information about the prizes and competition location, then leaked it to the underworld to draw various factions to cause chaos during this year's rabbit hunt, creating an opportunity to escape. She particularly focused on 2 devil fruits in the game's prizes, the Uo Uo no Mi, model Seiryu, and the Nikyu Nikyu no Mi. If they could eat either of these fruits, their group would have a chance to escape God Valley. As she predicted, shortly after the competition began, the most powerful pirate crew at the time, the Rocks, attacked the island's eastern shore to seize the treasures there. Meanwhile in the west, Roger and his crew also began landing on the island. Soon after, Marine Vice Admiral Garp joined the battle along with the Holy Knights to counter the pirates. Taking advantage of the chaos engulfing the island, Kuma and Ivankov quickly snatched the 2 devil fruits they needed for their escape. While hesitating over which fruit to eat, Ivankov was attacked by Big Mom, who stole the azure dragon fruit. Fortunately, Kuma managed to eat the Nikyu fruit. In this hair-trigger situation for Ivankov, they only needed at least one person to escape from this place to claim victory against the world government. As Kuma turned to run, he was blocked by Saint Saturn. To a revered saint like Saturn, Kuma was a lowly, inferior human, only worthy of being a slave or dead. But for someone at the bottom of society like Kuma, he believed everyone had equal rights, and with such power, he wanted to become someone like Nika to help the weak like himself. This answer displeased Saturn, who wanted to completely destroy Kuma. It's unclear what happened afterward, but ultimately the Rock's crew officially disbanded. After the God Valley incident, Big Mom gave the azure dragon fruit she had stolen to Kaido. St. Figurland Garling became that year's rabbit hunt champion, and also the last champion of this competition. Garp became an icon and was recognized as a marine hero after the battle. Kuma moved to live with Ginny in a small church in the southern Sorbet Kingdom, as he wanted to pray daily for the unfortunate souls he couldn't save that day. As for Ivankov, he chose to leave in search of freedom and new experiences. After everything, Kuma finally had a peaceful life with his loved ones. Every day, he and Ginny would chop wood to sell in the city to earn money for their living. Though they didn't earn much, everything came from their own labor, and they felt wonderful about that. They even cried with joy when eating their first self-made meal in their small house. And so time flew by, and 8 years passed in the blink of an eye. Kuma was now 17 and had become a minister in this village. He was especially loved and admired as every Sunday, Kuma would use his Nikyu fruit powers to push all people's pain out of their bodies. All this pain would accumulate and be stored inside a bubble shaped like a bear's paw, and Kuma would deal with it by enduring it in place of others, because if he didn't, the pain would return to its original owners. Because of this, Ginny strongly opposed this method of healing people, as each time Kuma would be severely injured for an entire week. But no matter how much she advised him, Kuma remained Kuma. He continued to devote all his feelings to everyone. Their life continued this way for another 5 years. Ginny was now 26. She had been by Kuma's side for a very long time, sharing countless memories, and somewhere along the way, she had given her heart to Kuma. So she decided to propose to Kuma, but was gently rejected because he had his own concerns. Kuma worried that the buccaneer blood flowing in his veins could affect Ginny and their future children, just as it had affected his family in the past. 3 years later, when Kuma was 25, in the Sorbet Kingdom, King Bikori usurped King Bulldog's rule and implemented radical reform policies for the citizens. He divided the country into 2 distinct parts. The elderly, disabled, and those unable to work were banished to the lawless southern region, while all resources were given to those who could pay the heavenly tribute in the north. Because of this regional discrimination policy, Kuma's residence became a lawless area, severely affecting everyone around. In an effort to rescue those who were arrested, Kuma was charged with rebellion and imprisoned along with Ginny and 2 of his friends. In this dire situation, a ray of hope appeared. The Liberation Warriors led by Dragon and Ivankov. This was the predecessor organization of the Revolutionary Army with the goal of bringing freedom to everyone. Kuma and Ginny, immediately after being rescued, also joined this organization and became strong pillars of the Revolutionary Army. 14 years ago, when Kuma was 33, Ginny had become the captain of an Eastern Army division. She was extremely happy as she would meet Kuma again in just a few days. However, her battalion was attacked, and Ginny was kidnapped by a celestial dragon to become his 8th wife in the Holy Land. Dragon's organization was still too weak at this time, so even if they wanted to rescue her, they couldn't, and had to bear losing Ginny. 2 years after being kidnapped, Ginny was not only forced to be a celestial dragon's wife, but was also used by Saturn for experiments on the sapphire scale disease. This disease would progress and severely weaken patients when their bodies were exposed to sunlight or moonlight. During this time, Ginny became pregnant and gave birth to Bonnie. Saturn also experimented with this disease on the baby, along with the power of the Toshi Toshi no Mi, making her a devil fruit user from birth. As for Ginny, when the disease reached its final stage, she was released from the Holy Land with her daughter. With her remaining strength, Ginny managed to bring her daughter to Sorbet and said her final goodbye to Kuma. "Hey Kuma, I have always and will forever love you." After these words, her body turned hard as stone and she died in their church. From this moment, Kuma promised himself to forever stay by Bonnie's side and protect her no matter the cost. Kuma, from a frontline pillar of the Revolutionary Army, became a devoted father meticulously caring for Bonnie. However, misfortune continued to follow Kuma as the daughter he considered his own suffered from the same disease that killed her mother. A doctor diagnosed that Bonnie could only live until age 10, as the disease was incurable. This could deeply affect Bonnie if she knew, so he had to lie to her that when she turned 10, she would be cured and could travel around the world with him. A year after that event, King Bakori returned to rule the country brutally, just as he had done 16 years before. Kuma channeled all his rage and successfully destroyed Bakori's palace, driving him out of the kingdom once again. Because of this, he was loved by the people and crowned as king. Although reluctant, Kuma agreed to be king in name only and stayed in his church with Ginny, delegating all ruling power to King Bulldog. However, Bakori hadn't given up, determined to reclaim the throne in Sorbet with Navy backing. He slandered Kuma's name across all newspapers and used this as a pretext to attack. Forced into a corner, Kuma had to leave his child with old lady Connie and went to face King Bakori. With the caliber of a revolutionary pillar, Kuma easily defeated his entire army and became a wanted pirate. But this didn't discourage him. Kuma used this opportunity to travel the world seeking a cure for his little daughter's disease. Finally, he found a ray of hope when he met Dr. Vegapunk. With his advanced technology, Vegapunk revealed he could cure Bonnie for free. However, in exchange, Kuma had to donate blood from a Buccaneer tribe member so he could use it to create a model for his future justice fighting machines. The Kuma clone army called Pacifista, meaning peace lover, based on Kuma's personality. However, neither Vegapunk nor Kuma anticipated that their conversation was being monitored by Saint Saturn. He charged Vegapunk with collaborating with a pirate with a 296 million berry bounty. And if Kuma wanted to help Vegapunk and his child, he had to comply with Saturn's terms. First, he had to become one of the 7 warlords to replace a warlord defeated by Ace. Second, Kuma had to undergo cyborg modification, giving up his free will and identity to become a mindless robot for the world government to freely control. Finally, Kuma would not be allowed to see his daughter again after Bonnie was completely cured. This request seemed extremely unreasonable and inhumane, as it essentially destroyed all of Kuma's human rights. However, with his immense love for Bonnie, he accepted sacrificing everything in exchange for her happiness. Kuma's modification process and Bonnie's treatment began immediately afterward. They lived there together for half a year, dancing, singing, partying, and getting to know everyone there in happiness. However, these were also their final moments together. While Kuma's modification process took up to 2 years, Bonnie's treatment only required nearly half a year of therapy and 1 year of self-recovery to be completely finished. Kuma had to make up an excuse about going on a business trip to leave Bonnie, as per his agreement with Saturn, so she could fully recover. During this time, Kuma wrote thousands of letters to Bonnie, but all were destroyed by CP8's Agent Alpha before reaching their final destination. However, the truth eventually came out. In a moment of carelessness, old lady Connie discovered Alpha's true identity and understood the whole story. She asked fishermen to escort Bonnie to search for her father on a ship specially designed for her. She would stay behind to distract Alpha's attention so everyone would have time to move. This plan seemed simple, but had almost fooled Alpha. However, with an agent's experience, she still excellently noticed Bonnie's absence. She immediately gave chase. This time, if Bonnie was caught, she would be chained day and night for Alpha to torture and beat. But these threats alone couldn't shake Bonnie's will. The girl recalled the descriptions of Nika's rubber body with its free stretching ability and successfully recreated Luffy's Gear 3 technique, completely defeating Alpha in one strike. Meanwhile, with Kuma in the final stages of modification, Vegapunk tried his best to negotiate with Saturn about establishing 2 personalities for Kuma. However, he was completely refused. Instead, he could only set simple commands as per Kuma's request, such as, "Protect the Straw Hat Crew's Thousand Sunny." Finally, Kuma created a bubble copy backing up all his memories as requested by Vegapunk. Until the end, he still hoped his life could help someone in the future through Vegapunk's experiments. Before his death, he still wondered, Did I trouble anyone in my shameful life? However, Dr. Vegapunk affirmed that anyone who came into contact with Kuma loved and cherished him. The memory erasure device's switch was pulled down, and Kuma passed away amid the extreme grief of those who knew him. Until the end, he only wished for his little daughter to live peacefully, still hoped she would have a happy 10th birthday, and believed his secret words of love would reach her one day. Back to the present, while Bonnie was immersed in Kuma's memories, outside the research level, the Seraphims were actively destroying the factory to force the Vegapunks out of hiding at Lucci's command. Meanwhile, Zoro was facing Kaku in his awakened form. Similar to Lucci, his body became more muscular and sturdy, with black flame clouds floating around him. With his special ability, Kaku transformed his sturdy neck into a sword technique, moving in unpredictable trajectories towards Zoro, but was easily controlled and dodged by him. Surprisingly, both Kaku and Lucci were attacked from a blind spot by Stussy. With the speed and versatility of her half-human, half-beast form, Stussy knocked them both unconscious with bites combined with sea-stone lipstick. It turned out she was the first clone created by Vegapunk over 20 years ago and had become a double agent planted by him to infiltrate the government. Lucci was unconscious, but since Stussy only had the same authority level as him, she couldn't override the commands to the Seraphims. Edison had to appear and order the Seraphims to stop, and he would have been blown up if Sanji hadn't saved him in time. Things on the island were beginning to come under control, as Sentomaru had also regained consciousness and commanded the Pacifista Mark III to attack the agents. Additionally, he ordered all remaining Pacifistas to combine with mechanical sea beasts to guard the coast to help Vegapunk and the Straw Hats escape. However, the island had somehow become surrounded by over 20 battleships, 80 warships of various sizes with over 30,000 Marines, 9 Vice Admirals, 1 Admiral, and notably, Saint Saturn's appearance. Despite this dangerous situation, they still couldn't locate Stella's current position due to malfunctioning cameras. They had to split up to search, leaving only Luffy, Zoro, and Shaka in the central room with Kaku and Lucci tied up on the 3rd floor of Tower C. Pythagoras was suddenly attacked by an unidentified entity from the darkness. They simultaneously destroyed the communication system, making it difficult for everyone to exchange information. Though caught by surprise, Pythagoras managed to escape thanks to his body's mysterious mechanism. While everyone was confused by the continuous explosions, York pretended to be petrified by Little Hancock. Essie Snake then created an explosion with laser beams that separated the group and unpetrified York so she could act freely according to her pre-planned scheme. As for S. Snake, she continued fighting against Usopp's group. However, being a devil fruit user, she was easily subdued by Lilith using a bubble gun with sea energy bullets. Just when they thought they had suppressed Little Hancock, in a moment of carelessness, Frankie was betrayed by the demon inside him and had part of his body petrified by Little Hancock. This led to both Lilith and Usopp also being petrified while trying to save Frankie. As for Pythagoras, he was completely destroyed by Little Hancock, marking the Straw Hat crew's first defeat. In a similar development on the 3rd floor of Building A, Nami and the others were being blocked by S-Shark. She launched a direct lightning strike with Zeus's help straight at S-Shark's body, but it couldn't cause much impact. Fortunately, with Sanji's help, they avoided an obvious defeat. With his enhanced hardened body, Sanji was completely comfortable letting S-Shark attack without facing any obstacles. Meanwhile, in the control room, S-Hawk and S-Bear were attacking Luffy and Zoro. With his sharp reasoning ability, Shaka immediately deduced that some Vegapunk had ordered them to come here and eliminate everyone. Knowing this was an unfavorable situation, Lucci proposed cooperating with Luffy to destroy the Seraphims. He worried that if this continued, the Seraphims would unconsciously attack both him and Kaku. Although Shaka didn't want to cooperate, they weren't free to protect both men. After a moment's thought, Shaka agreed to let Luffy remove Lucci and Kaku's handcuffs. Just freed, both immediately dodged S-Bear's Rokugan shock and seized the opportunity to launch a combined attack to completely destroy the two Seraphims. The power of this combined attack was so strong it blew both Seraphims away from their original position, leaving them motionless in the smoke. However, in the end, both Seraphims weren't particularly damaged. Instead, they remained full of power and continued counterattacking everyone. It turned out the Seraphims were created based on blood from the Lunarian and Buccaneer tribes, so they had powerful regenerative abilities as long as the flames on their backs kept burning. Therefore, without fighting at full strength, there was no chance of victory. After reassessing the situation, Shaka, with his typically brilliant mind, found the final anomaly in the research level. Going down there, he discovered Vegapunk and the CP agents imprisoned in a glass cage. In an attempt to rescue everyone, Shaka was shot in the head by York to silence all leads. Only now did she reveal her true nature and disclosed everything to Vegapunk's extreme surprise. But York didn't know that everything Vegapunk had prepared until now was for this moment. With his genius brain, he had made York careless during the most crucial moment. Outside Egghead, the Navy had officially completed deploying their massive formation and was just waiting for the moment to land on the island. They suddenly received a call from York directly to headquarters. From early morning, this call was to confirm York's alliance with the Five Elders when they brought such an overwhelming force to Egghead. And this call would test York's value as a hostage. During the Straw Hat Crew's escape, although we don't know what happened in the battle for Seraphim control last night, ultimately all Seraphims were confined to their cells. Additionally, 4 Vegapunks were injured, 2 died. Kaku and Robin were severely injured and needed treatment. The key issue here was perhaps Luffy, as he had successfully won Little Hancock's heart and unpetrified everyone. An escape plan was immediately proposed. They would split into 2 groups with different missions. While Luffy, Bonnie, Frankie, and Lilith were responsible for taking the Sunny and Vegaforce 01 to the northeast of the island, the remaining group would stay in the central room and focus on decoding the password to unlock the frontier. Once the frontier was disabled, they would use Vegaforce 01 to fly through the battleships, and finally use Kuda Burst to escape the Navy's pursuit. However, the Navy couldn't let things unfold so easily. Kizaru, being a person of light, along with intelligence from Lucci, decided to lead a preemptive strike on the island. The first thing he did was pierce through the massive array of mechanical beasts and pacifistas to attack Sentomaru directly. If he didn't do this, Sentomaru could completely command that formidable army to attack the warships anchored offshore of Egghead. With his terrifying speed, Kizaru immediately approached and attacked Sentomaru, but he easily blocked it. According to Sentomaru, his defensive ability was the strongest in the world. Outside Egghead, the mechanical sea beasts began sinking the battleships. This forced Kizaru to defeat his nephew as quickly as possible. Of course, with the power difference between them, finishing off Sentomaru wasn't difficult. The difficulty lay in the uncle-nephew relationship between them that prevented Kizaru from doing so. However, due to his responsibility as a marine soldier, Kizaru shot a bullet that knocked out Sentomaru and regained control of the pacifistas. When things on the ground were settled, he began infiltrating the research level to eliminate Dr. Vegapunk. As soon as he knew his ally had begun advancing, Lucci immediately showed his true colors, launching a sudden finger pistol to finish off Vegapunk. Fortunately for him, Stussy had timely discovered this anomaly and used her body to shield him. Otherwise, this day next year would certainly have been Dr. Vegapunk's death anniversary. In this chaotic situation, Sanji remained the most reliable person. He quickly subdued Kaku with the bubble gun and calmly observed everything. As for Kizaru, although he said eliminating Vegapunk was the top priority, due to old ties, he tried to buy time by searching around the control room, and he directly encountered Luffy while trying to approach Vegaforce 01. Although facing an admiral, Luffy only activated Gear 4 Snake Man and fought breathlessly against Kizaru. After all, speed was still Kizaru's greatest strength. With his speed, Kizaru jumped back and gained momentum to launch a powerful kick into Luffy's body, sending him crashing into Vegaforce 01 and completely destroying it. The kick's shockwave was so strong it blew Luffy outside the frontier and down to the ground. Kizaru continued attacking Bonnie, causing her to fall out of the frontier like Luffy and drop to the factory level. Fortunately for her, Sentomaru's timely rescue meant she wasn't too badly injured from the fall. While everyone was worried about the girl, Kizaru had somehow entered the research room and approached Vegapunk. He could have finished off Vegapunk as no one had detected Kizaru's presence until he spoke. Unfortunately for Borsalino, before he could deliver his speech, he was caught by Luffy in Gear 5 state. With his giant body, he gained momentum and launched Kizaru far away, just as Kizaru had done to him. Temporarily solving the Kizaru problem, Atlas decided to go down to the lower level to reclaim control of the pacifistas, as she worried they might shoot down the Sunny while it was hovering in the sky. She, along with Stella, Sanji, and Frankie, rode the Vega tank down to the factory level. However, at this moment, Kizaru returned. He created dozens of clones of himself and simultaneously attacked Luffy from multiple directions. Although numerous and fierce, these clones didn't have the same agile movement as the real person, so they were easily destroyed by Luffy. While Luffy was struggling with the clones, Kizaru seized the opportunity to attack the Vegapunk tank. Luffy had to use his body to take Kizaru's light attacks to protect the vehicle. Under Luffy's protection, Atlas finally succeeded in reaching the factory level and ordered the pacifistas to attack all Marines on the island, using her authority that was second only to the 5 elders. The pacifistas immediately obeyed and turned to attack the nearby Marine soldiers. The only case of disobedience came from a pacifista controlled by Vice Admiral Bluegrass, as it attacked Bonnie under her orders. But with Sanji's help, they escaped together and returned to the research level on the Vega tank. However, at this exact moment, an unpredictable event occurred. Saint Saturn himself entered the battle. He approached the island through a magic circle and ordered the pacifistas to stop their bombardment. From that circle, Saturn appeared in the form of a monster, similar to an Ushioni from Japanese culture. The lower body was that of a giant spider. The upper body was human, but larger than normal with 2 giant horns. Moreover, around his body appeared a black flame scarf similar to Kaku and Lucci's awakened forms. Low-ranking Marines were ordered not to look at Saturn's face in this form. A soldier who disobeyed was immediately shot in the head by Saturn. Meanwhile, Kizaru took advantage of everyone's distraction to attack the cloud path, knocking the Vega tank off its course. Luffy retaliated against Kizaru with a full-force attack combined with Armament Haki and Conqueror's Haki, instantly incapacitating him. However, he also exhausted himself and fell straight down to where Saturn was. Bonnie took advantage of Saturn's focus on Luffy and Vegapunk to thrust her sword directly into his giant body. But with his mysterious power, Saturn was completely unaffected by Bonnie's stab. Instead, he deliberately took the hit to capture and attack Bonnie. In an effort to rescue Bonnie, Sanji was attacked by the same mysterious power that had blown up the unfortunate Marine soldier's head earlier. Saturn also used this opportunity to attack Luffy's unconscious body on the ground, but was blocked by Frankie. Therefore, he continued using his ability to control everyone around him so he could easily execute Bonnie without interference. The girl had almost given up to fate and remembered memories with her father. These became motivation for Bonnie. She risked her life with a distorted future attack, transforming her arm to giant size and launching it at Saturn's face. However, this attack would never reach its target as her faith in Nika had diminished. At this moment, Nika had actually recovered when a mysterious figure provided food. Later, it was whispered that this character could move at the speed of light, so even Holy Oda didn't know who it was. At that moment, Kuma arrived at Egghead. Despite his body being destroyed by bullets, melted by lava, attacked by cannon fire, he still moved straight toward where his daughter was calling for help. Even though he had lost his ability to think, a father's instinct remained. That miraculous instinct that made Kuma's mindless muscles move one last time to protect his little daughter. Noticing Kuma approaching, Saturn immediately used his claws to take Bonnie's life. However, with the steadfast back of a father, Kuma shielded Bonnie and saved her from death by a hair's breadth. Immediately after, he concentrated all his power into one fist, infusing it with all the suffering that his family, friends, and comrades had endured throughout this time, then launched it straight into Saturn's face, severely wounding him, causing blood to pour and sending him flying 100 meters away. Although Saturn could recover instantly and was unharmed from that attack, he was shocked that Kuma could still move. In fact, Saturn had activated Kuma's self-destruct button since he was taken away by the Revolutionary Army. Yet instead of exploding into pieces, Kuma was here attacking him. It turned out everything was thanks to Vegapunk. Although he had installed the self-destruct button as per Saturn's requirements, Vegapunk had found a loophole by changing the definition of self-destruction. According to him, self-destruction didn't mean exploding and affecting others. It simply meant stopping all bodily functions. However, Kuma's ability to stand here could only be called a miracle that science couldn't explain. Kuma was now just a robot. Nothing more, nothing less. After everything, he hugged Bonnie, the hug of an emotionless robot, yet strangely, it felt unusually warm. However, the touching scene didn't last long. Saturn immediately returned and attacked both with his claws, but Sanji managed to deflect it with just one kick. While Saturn was still off guard, Frankie added a piercing beam shot. But no matter how he was attacked, Saturn remained unaffected. Everything that had happened had angered him. Saturn finally decided to initiate a buster call, despite Dr. Vegapunk's desperate pleas. Saturn believed Egghead and everything related to it must be eliminated because Vegapunk had touched upon the world government's taboo matters. Not only that, Saturn also ordered the pacifistas to simultaneously attack Kuma and Bonnie. However, he didn't know that Vegapunk, not wanting to see Kuma's body attack Bonnie, had secretly installed the highest control authority to Bonnie in preparation for the worst case. Unfortunately for Saturn, being the scientific war god, yet being deceived by Vegapunk time and time again, he was furious and launched a finishing blow at Vegapunk. Meanwhile, with her authority, Bonnie ordered all pacifistas to turn back and attack the Marines and protect everyone's escape. The tide of battle immediately turned. Luffy had also recovered and returned to the battle to protect both Kuma and Bonnie from Kizaru's attack. He launched a sky-shattering punch that sent Kizaru flying far from the battlefield. With his familiar dance and smile, he continued to stand up and ignite the flame of hope in everyone's hearts, especially for Bonnie, as this was the first time she witnessed the sun god Nika answering her faith in a deity she had always admired. Nika's return also awakened the giant robot Emmet, Nika's friend from the past, who promised to become a powerful ally for Luffy. Not only that, at the northeast coast, the giant pirates had also approached Egghead Island to escort the sun god to Elbaf. After landing, the giant warriors immediately attacked the battleships, carving a bloody path straight to the island's center. The dire situation forced the Marines to make Bonnie their main target if they didn't want to be destroyed by the pacifistas and giants. Meanwhile, at the research level, Brook had used his power to move the ship to the predetermined position, while Zoro was still locked in battle with Lucci, with neither gaining the upper hand. Back at the center, Bonnie asked Luffy to teach her rubber attacks. He immediately enlarged his arm and continuously launched it at Saturn's face, sending him flying far from the island once again. There, Saturn encountered two Blackbeard Pirates members, Katarina Devon and Van Augur. They came to steal Saturn's form to use it for various future purposes. As they prepared to leave, they encountered Caribou begging to join them to meet and become Blackbeard's subordinate. He committed to providing valuable information about ancient weapons, so they took him along. Returning to Luffy's group, they planned to use Coup de Burst to fly back to the research level and escape. While they were unsure what to do with the severely injured Vegapunk, Kizaru appeared and offered a solution. "You'll all die anyway, so let me help." However, once again, Sanji appeared to save everyone. With the power of love, he kicked away Kizaru's light attack and headed toward the northeast gate. They met the giant pirates advancing toward the center and received their help in returning to the ship. Meanwhile, Saturn had returned stronger than ever. He transformed into his complete form and launched deadly poison-filled attacks at Luffy. In this chaos, Vegapunk was pierced through by Kizaru and left dying. Witnessing this, Luffy became enraged and began seriously attacking Saturn and Kizaru. He grabbed both of them, flattened them, and threw them far away, realizing that no matter how he attacked, Saturn would recover. However, with his special body, Saturn used the momentum to fly back to Luffy's position. At this moment, Vegapunk died. He had set up a special program to broadcast his speech immediately after his death. The information he prepared to reveal was promised to be extremely important, so he would give everyone 10 minutes to prepare to record everything. This information seemed to be related to the Void Century, so the 5 elders decided to prevent its broadcast at all costs. Black magic circles began appearing around Saturn, smoking up the entire sky. From within the circles, the 5 elders in the form of 5 giant monsters gradually emerged. They immediately split up to act without discussing plans. Nushiro with the power of the Bakotsu. Yokai ran around the island and froze all pacifistas in less than a minute. Mars with Itsumade's flying power flew through the frontier directly into the research level. Peter with Sandworm's power burrowed straight underground and swallowed Luffy in an instant, but was cut into pieces by Dory and Brogy. Saint Warcury in the form of a divine boar released a sky-piercing roar combined with Conqueror's haki and sent Luffy flying far away. Taking advantage of Luffy's daze, Warcury charged in to finish everything with his tusks, but was blocked by the sun shield. As for Saturn, he shot poison balls at Luffy but was countered. These balls weren't simple. They could explode, severely affecting the surrounding environment. Before Luffy could recover, he was hindered by St. Peter's powerful suction force, forcing him to use an entire building to escape. However, after such a long battle with seemingly immortal opponents, Luffy was exhausted. He had to eat Hikari, rotten shark, to restore his strength and continue defending against the Five Elders. After regaining his strength, he launched a full-power Red Rock at Warcury's head, the attack that had once greatly damaged Kaido. But now it showed little effect on the Five Elders. They had to choose to flee rather than continue fighting the Five Elders. Meanwhile, on the cloud level, the battle between Zoro and Lucci was nearing its end. Right after being provoked by Sanji, he entered serious mode and left several wounds on the Leopard Man, ending the fight. Mars, after successfully infiltrating, approached and received important information from Lucci. He quickly sought out York to find information about Vegapunk's broadcast signal. He attacked and destroyed the room where Vegapunk recorded, but still gained nothing. Suddenly, Mars sensed the presence of a living creature in Punk record and approached. With only seconds remaining, Mars successfully reached and destroyed the Denden Mushi. However, the speech didn't stop. It turned out this Denden Mushi was just one of hundreds of decoys Vegapunk had set up to waste the Five Elders' time. Mars had to go around releasing Conqueror's Haki, hoping to knock out the real Denden Mushi. At the control room, Stussy stayed with Kaku to disable the frontier when the Straw Hats set sail. However, her sacrifice wasn't enough. According to Edison's calculations, the Sunny would certainly crash if they departed like this. So Edison also sacrificed himself to go down to the underground cloud factory to help the crew escape. After completing his purpose, he called back to Stussy requesting her to disable the frontier and find a way to escape. Given freedom, Stussy complied, released CP0, and fled. Just as Edison left, Saturn appeared. He was there to stop the broadcast, but also conveniently to take Robin's life for her ability to read ancient text. However, with the crew's tight protection, he couldn't easily achieve his goal. At the giant ship, Nusjiro was attacking Bonnie to regain control of the pacifistas, but met strong resistance from both Sanji and Bonnie. Feeling insulted, he transformed directly into beast form and attacked Sanji with a bite to the stomach, forcing him to stop. In this disadvantageous situation, he jumped straight into the air and sliced the cloud level in half, freeing the agents and seraphims. Fortunately, this slash didn't affect Luffy's group's departure point. After cutting the cloud in half, Nusjiro jumped down and continued attacking the Sunny directly. He was about to use an attack to split the ship in half when he was stopped by Zoro and Jinbei's combined Fishman Karate and Notoryu. Paradise World technique blocking his deadly sword. The impact force from the two attacks sent both of them flying far from the Sunny. Below the giant ship, the Marines continuously attacked to prevent the ship from sailing. This forced the Sunny to take off quickly to avoid being blocked by Nusjiro and the Marines. While both sides were intensely clashing, Vegapunk's broadcast continued smoothly. He revealed that he died because of his research into world history, and during his research, he discovered that this world would sink. To increase credibility, he continuously made accurate predictions about recent earthquakes, shocking everyone. After people believed his story, Vegapunk began telling what he wanted to say. He spoke about the appearance of the world's first pirate, Joy Boy, 900 years ago. Joy Boy had to fight against an alliance of 20 ancient kingdoms. In that battle, many advanced weapons were used. As a result, it created an ecological disaster and caused the entire world to sink into the ocean. And this sinking wouldn't stop. In the past century, sea levels had risen dramatically by 200 meters. These dangerous weapons still exist today, known as ancient weapons. They were also the cause of Luluzia's destruction in a single strike. It's known that Joy Boy tried to preserve them for future generations, but for what purpose remains unclear. Only the Roger pirates who learned about them through One Piece were the only ones who understood everything about the Void Century. And those who want to learn about the secrets the government hides, those who want to determine the world's fate must participate in the struggle for One Piece. Vegapunk's speech impacted all major factions worldwide, making the race for One Piece more intense than ever. Additionally, in his speech, Vegapunk revealed he had long known about York's betrayal. Combining this information, York thought and found the real location of the Den Den Mushi. It was hidden by Vegapunk in Emmet's body when he first met Luffy. And speaking of Emmet, he immediately appeared. Emmet had awakened after 200 years of hibernation in the scrapyard to search for Joy Boy. Emmet's appearance drew the five elders' attention and created an opportunity for the Straw Hat crew to escape. Without hesitation, St. Warcury launched his bulky body at Emmet, throwing him into the sea and disrupting the broadcast signal. However, that time was enough for Luffy and the two giant captains to successfully board the giant ship. The vice admirals attacking the ship were turned into children by Bonnie. Almost all dangers had dissipated. Now they just needed to wait for the Sunny to set sail. But St. Mars immediately returned to the battle to stop the Straw Hats. He charged in and breathed fire, burning part of the giant ship. However, Mars wasn't the only one who could return. Luffy, after replenishing his energy, had also come back. He immediately transformed into Nika form, and encouraged Bonnie to transform into Nika like himself. With help from Bonnie, Frankie, and Sanji, Luffy used his body as a vessel to create a combined attack aimed directly at Mars, sending him flying straight toward the Holy Land. However, the five elders still wouldn't let the Straw Hats go. Peter used his powerful suction force to pull the ship back toward him, forcing Luffy to return to shore to stop him. Taking this opportunity, Warcury launched his body straight into the sea, aiming to destroy the entire ship. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, Emmet returned from the ocean depths and delivered an extremely powerful punch that broke Warcury's teeth. Meanwhile on the Sunny, Atlas suddenly knocked Lilith unconscious so the five elders would think Lilith was dead. Then she rushed out to delay Nusturo so everyone could escape. Using the bomb inside her body, she self-destructed to create force, helping the Sunny fly further. However, her suicide bomb attack proved ineffective, as Nusturo immediately returned. He positioned himself to deliver a finishing blow to the entire crew. The situation on the Sunny wasn't looking good, and neither was it on the giant ship. Although Emmet had successfully stunned Warcury, Peter bit off his left arm. Saturn seized the opportunity to jump onto the giant ship to attack Bonnie and Kuma. Just as things seemed hopeless, Emmet began remembering the past. He had received a knot containing Joy Boy's Conqueror's Haki for emergencies, and now was the perfect time to use it. Emmet untied the knot, releasing powerful and abundant Conqueror's Haki throughout Egghead. Nearly 30,000 low and high-ranking Marines collapsed. 4 of the 5 elders were blown straight back to the Chamber of Authority. Saturn was also completely shattered by Luffy and Bonnie's combined attack. The Sunny finally landed safely, and the giant ship began heading straight to Elbaf, leaving Saturn alone on Egghead. After that earth-shattering attack, Emmet also stopped functioning, lying motionless in a corner of Egghead. Kizaru was the only one still conscious on the Marine side. He reported everything that happened on the island to Akainu, but was reprimanded. This triggered Kizaru's temper, making us see him lose his composure and talk back to his superior for the first time, causing even Akainu to bow in apology. Sometime later, the Vice Admirals regained consciousness. They requested Saturn's permission to pursue the Straw Hats, but were refused. According to Saturn, their only failure was letting Vegapunk broadcast his message to the world. Because of this failure, Saturn was stripped of his powers by Im-sama, burned in black flames until only bone fragments remained. His position in the 5 elders would be taken over by St. Garling. At this point, we received shocking information from Lilith. According to her, as long as one Vegapunk satellite remained alive, she could completely revive all other Vegapunks. This made the crew happy as they had kept their promise to Vegapunk. And so, the incident at Egghead Island ended in complete victory for the Straw Hat crew. And this is also the end of this very long video. Due to the large amount of information, there might be some errors in the content. Please feel free to leave your feedback for Amy in the comments below. Now, if you enjoyed it, remember to leave a like and share to support Amy. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to not miss exciting upcoming videos. Thank you for watching. See you in the next videos.